Welcome to the Happy Soul Podcast. My name is Melissa, and this is Sammy. We are diving deep into conversations that connect and inspire. Stories of resilience, triumph, and transformation. Stories that take us to the heart of human connection. Please note that opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect those of this podcast. Please listen with your kindness and an open mind. Each story shared is authentic and vulnerable. Let's embrace our differences with empathy, knowing every voice enriches us. Together, let's cultivate a community of respect and curiosity. Thank you for listening. Now sit back, relax, and prepare to be inspired. Welcome back to the Happy Soul Podcast, everyone. Today, Sammy and I are going to chat about what September is for us. So we are really looking forward to September. We are doing a childhood cancer awareness mini-series. And today we're just going to give you a little snippet of what this month is going to look like. So, hello, Sammy.
Heyo.
Heyo.
Heyo. Yeah. I mean, for those that know have been following us at all, they know that we've been rallying behind childhood cancer since kind of getting in connection with Claire in January-ish.
Yep.
And I said this in an episode we recently recorded, but like I'm really jacked for this miniseries in the sense of like I would rather this miniseries doesn't exist because it would be so much better if childhood cancer was not a problem that needed to be taken care of and we didn't have to do this miniseries. And we don't have to do this miniseries. We get to do this miniseries, and we're honored to be able to do this miniseries and for the people who have given us their time and their hearts and their energy to allow us to have episodes, because without them sharing, we wouldn't have a heck of a lot to share on other than our own thoughts. But I'm really excited to be able to hold space. We've already held the space, but share that space of our guests with all of our listeners to hear these incredible stories of these like incredible humans who are going through or have gone through, and maybe in some cases they're still going through the hardest thing that anybody should really have to go through. And so yeah, I don't know.
100%. I 100% agree. On all levels, I 100% agree. I am so inspired by each and every one of these guests. And I think that learning about this has really sparked something in me that I'm amazed all of the things that we're learning about. I'm the kind of person who is sometimes scared to dive into something scary because the minute you dive into it, it really exists. And diving into this has really been impactful, and it's really important. Like, this cause is very important. It is important for everybody, because whether you believe it touches your life right now or not, hopefully it never does, but it is affecting people, and it's affecting our children. So like, this is a cause that really does need to be rallied behind, and learning about these things is really, it's just been really amazing. And this mini series feels like it's been a long time coming, because we started talking to Claire in January. We said we were going to do this back in January, released her episode on Childhood Cancer Awareness Day. And we've been slowly having these conversations with these guests and putting these episodes together and creating some content that's hopefully going to ignite something in other people to learn about this as well, and to kind of rally in community behind these families that are facing this really, like you said, a horrible thing. So, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. I want to just touch on that really quickly, because I think I said this in our episode with Claire, but I found Claire on our personal page, on my personal Instagram account around this time last year. Like, it was September-ish. And there's two posts, and they're the burned memory in my mind of when I first found Claire's account. And one of them was, I think the first one I saw was they gave their family Christmas in September.
Mm.
at the Banff Springs. So I don't know if it was September or October, but they gave their family Christmas early at the Banff Springs Hotel, because during Christmas time, their daughter Sloane was going to be going through cancer treatment. And I remember I that was the first one I saw, and I saw it, and I was like, what's this family going through that's giving that the Banff Springs and whatever else is putting on this Christmas early for them.
Mhm.
And that's what caused me to deep dive into her story, was seeing that reel. And then the other one I talked about was her day at the zoo with her daughter, where she was like, I shouldn't be here. And I won't go into that one because I know I talked about it in the other episode, but like that's kind of where this all sparked. It was almost a year ago.
Mhm.
And then through me interacting with Claire on my personal page, and then kind of semi-intentionally directing her towards our podcast page, I never did that in dreaming or imagining that she would be on the podcast, be a part of the podcast, or this whole thing would come around. Like that was not part of it at all. It just happened. It was because I had found her on my personal page, and then I realized I didn't need my personal page anymore, but I wanted to still follow her story. And so I needed to get in touch with her through the podcast page, because that was what I wanted to be utilizing to be on social media. I only use my personal page for promoting podcast stuff now. Like it was just this weird intermittent phase where I was still on both, and I wanted to drop my personal, but I really wanted to follow her story. And that's kind of how that happened. And her story impacted me a lot, and I don't mean that to undermine any of the other childhood cancer stories, but like hers was the start of it. And I know we talked about this earlier on, and I want to say this piece cautiously, because when people say it's hard to hear these stories, it makes me angry because you're not living it. So get over it. But it also is hard to hear these stories. And like, I know for us, we recorded Claire's episode and we recorded Catherine's episode back pretty close together at the beginning of this year. And I was spending a lot of time editing Claire's episode because of the way that hers was done via WhatsApp. I was listening to her answers and our questions and her everything a lot to get it all set up in the right way. And I remember you and I having a conversation because we could feel the emotional impact that listening to these episodes was giving us. Like we could feel that we were on like this weird, we already both have anxiety, but we were on this weird high alert thing with like kids' symptoms, and I was already coming out from a high anxiety thing, and like we were on this weird, we had to be like, okay, we need to like pace this shit out. And that is why we recorded them over the course of the last while, is because like, to be totally honest, like we knew we couldn't do it back to back to back like that. And also because we wanted to make sure that we edited them really well and set it up really well and lined up the month really well, like you talked about. But that was another piece of it. And so we're saying this is like, these stories are hard to hear, and we know that. And if you can't plow through every single episode because it's really hard on your heart and your mental health, we get that. But we do encourage you, maybe even to just push play and silence your phone so that the episode plays and these people's stories can get, because the more, and I'm not saying this to push us, but the more plays episodes have, the more they pull up on people's Spotify accounts and their Apple accounts, and the more it pulls up on different platforms and things like that. And so if you can do that to honor these people's stories, even if you can't hear it, I hate to ask for plays, but I'm going to do that. I should have said this in the SMA Awareness Month too, but I didn't really think about it till just now. Just listen to one story and then push play and mute your phone and let it play out. If you can't listen, but like they're so impactful, and I do encourage you to listen if it's not going to impact your mental health and your heart, because in a bad way, in a negative, in an unsafe way, because it's just an important cause and it could hit you at any time. And I don't mean that to sound like doom and gloom, but it's just the truth. And any one of these families would say that you think it'll never be you, and it's going to be someone.
Right.
And so, I don't know. I just wanted to say that.
I'm glad that you brought that up, actually. And I want to contrast that and say, because if I were to rewind before any of this started for us, I would have been nervous as a listener, to dive in, because I would be worried about how I would be impacted, maybe if it would bring up anxiety, if those sorts of things. But I will say this. listen with care. Take care of yourself while listening. If you need to spread it out, if you need to, by all means, spread it out. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. But I want to say this. Going into this, we had a conversation with each other and we were like, we got to keep ourselves in check. We have to be in constant communication with each other because we're diving into these stories and we're not haphazardly listening. We're not haphazardly interviewing. We are diving into it. And I was very concerned. I was like, let's make sure we're keeping each other on the right level here. But what I will say, what has surprised me about all of these, every single interview, I was worried that I would feel more down and more, because it has happened before, when not in this series, it has happened before when we listen to a story that is a heavier story. Afterwards, I'm like, I'm I I have to kind of reset myself. And not that it's a negative thing, not that it's a bad thing. I feel like I put a lot of energy out and now I have to kind of reset myself. And I was a little bit worried that hearing these stories would create that on a massive, like on a bigger level. But what I will say is every single one of these stories has left me feeling uplifted. It's been the opposite. It's left me feeling inspired and uplifted and ready to dive in and try to make a difference with everything that I have capacity to do. And it's also inspired me to go, I can make a difference, whether it's $5 here, whether it's sharing this story, whether it's making an impact in somebody's life like this. It doesn't have to be massive. And I think sometimes we sit back and say, well, because I can't do something that's massive, I can't make an impact. Yes, you can. Hitting the share button does not, that impacts it, you can impact in small ways too. And there are ways, really fun and interesting and unique ways that you can get involved and make a difference in somebody's life that are going to be shared in this mini series. You're going to get fun little tips of things that you can do that will really impact somebody in a positive way. And it's just a really encouraging that we can do that. And I know I'm kind of circling back, but I remember when it was at the end of Catherine's, I think, where I was like, wow. I was nervous going into Catherine's because I knew we were going to talk about Penn and Penn had passed away. And I was really nervous about it. It was our second one that we had slotted to record. And I was nervous because my heart already just felt so sad and for her and for this family. And when at the end of her episode, I felt the opposite. Catherine was so eloquent and so inspiring. And I was just uplifted by her. And I just felt like, okay, this is really, I'm really, these conversations are just beautiful. Sorry, that was a really long rant.
No, but it was a good rant. You're absolutely right, though. I have not left a single one of these with beyond the initial, the first time. And I think it was because it was new. I think it was a whole new situation as to why. But absolutely, you're absolutely right. Every single one of them, I get off the call, I get off the recording, I finish listening to the recording, and I'm like, while I'm editing, and I'm like, holy shit, these people. Like, and
Yeah.
it's like, and I have a hard time saying that because I think that it's possible, and we've talked about this before, it's possible that saying that it's inspiring is not a good thing to say when someone's going through what these families are going through. And we do recognize that. I will just acknowledge it is hard to find the right word to describe, because it is inspiring, but like, I wish that they didn't have to inspire us this way at the same time, 100%. So we do acknowledge that too. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So, prepare your heart, but please listen. And I do think that cancer tends to scare people more than 100%. Most things, because cancer across the board, period, can happen at any point in time. It's not like a genetic disorder. It's not you're born with it. It's not like, oh, it only comes later in life. Oh, it only comes when kids are under this age. Or it only, there's no only. It, like Carrie said, and you'll hear in her episode, it does not discriminate. Age, gender, race, religion, doesn't care. And so I think that's why cancer is, I'm not saying other ones aren't scary, but I think it's probably why cancer can scare people a lot more to listen to stories, because it can do that to our brains. So,
and it's hard to find somebody who hasn't been affected by cancer in some way. And so I think when we hear it, we're like, ooh, because you know how real it is. But knowing how real it is doesn't mean that we should shy away from talking about it, and doesn't mean that we should shy away from helping in ways that we have capacity to do so. So,
yeah, absolutely.
And I was there. I was absolutely in a place where I worried, like if you talk about it, it's going to happen, like you get scared that like, I don't even know how to say that in any capacity, or like my dad had cancer.
My brain's always worked the other way. If I think it's going to happen, it's not going to happen. That is like full on how my brain works.
Oh my gosh. I love us as a combination. Like, oh my gosh.
I don't understand the concept of people thinking, and I don't mean this rudely, but that it's never going to happen to me. I never thought it would happen to me, because I'm like, I just assume all shit's going to happen to me, and then I'm prepared.
It's
like,
all going to happen.
And I don't mean that rudely. You're never prepared, you're never prepared for the traumatic stuff, no matter how prepared you think you are. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no, that's fine. No, that's fine. I just, I love these guests that we have slotted to come in September. Each and every one of them has something that we can take away from. Each and every one of them has real tangible ways that we can make a difference in somebody's life and in our own. And each and every one of them will leave you feeling like inspired. Is that the right word?
I would say, yeah, inspired in the way that you think about life.
Yes.
In the way that you go about life. Yeah.
Yes.
In your mindset, your mentality, how you can take on life better, how you can embrace life more, honor life more, honor your circumstances, honor all of the above. Like, that's what we mean by inspire. It's not like,
yes,
you know,
you said it. You said it. That's exactly it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about the guests. We have Heather.
Heather first. Yeah.
Yep. And so Heather Roy was, she came on during our Mother's Day episode and talked about what Mother's Day looks like for her as a bereaved mother, having one child earth side and one child heaven side. And she's back to talk about Evelyn and that story. So and
she has part 1 and part 2, because she has, in part 1, we tell Evelyn's story, diagnosis, treatment, and her passing away. And then part 2 is how Heather has used that to fuel herself to make a huge impact and make a difference for other families going through cancer treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dang. And she's like, anyways. Okay. Next we have Catherine with the Penn the Brave organization.
Yep.
Oh man, this story.
I know. And Catherine, a bereaved mother of Penn. So for Penn, thinking of those bubblegum guys and foxes, if you want to get the reference, you need to listen to the episode. Mm-hmm. And again, making a huge difference in honoring Penn's life with the Penn the Brave organization, bringing hope and joy to families who are going through cancer treatments. And she goes into how they do that in the episode. It's a really beautiful episode. Mm-hmm. Another inspiring mother, both Heather and her inspiring mothers.
Absolutely. And then next we have Carrie.
Carrie. Yeah. You'll be able to tell by our outfits and background that we literally just finished the call with Carrie as we record this. She said, "You're going to bed." And we're like, "No, we're not."
No, we're recording.
We're recording. But Carrie, who started the charity Helping Families Handle Cancer, who is a childhood cancer survivor herself. We briefly touch on her story and then talk a lot about the impact that her charity is making in the world of families going on a cancer journey, or on a cancer ransom journey, as she put it in the episode.
I think that was, she said that was Heather that said that.
It was Heather. It's not really a journey, as we were taken at ransom and forced to do it. But she shares a lot in that episode. It's a really beautiful episode. For sure, her heart is incredible.
So many tangible ways that you can get involved, and really simple, easy ways. You do not need to be a millionaire to make a difference. And listening to her episode will have you thinking about how the impact, the financial impact that these families are facing on a whole other perspective. It will completely shift your perspective on what you think they're facing. Listen to this because you want to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have Dominique coming to us all the way from the other side of the world in Australia, which, man, arranging that call was so fun. It was middle of the day for her and bedtime for us. It was awesome. So grateful for her time in the middle of the day there, sharing with her son is currently finished his cancer treatments. He's in maintenance right now. And I think he might actually just be finishing that when this releases.
I think so. I was just looking because they were posting a countdown. And they are raising funds in Australia. So we are going to be sharing ways that you can also help there too.
Yes. And she also has a company that she started that is journals for parents who have kids going through childhood cancer treatment. That is to help keep track of medications and appointments and all of this kind of stuff. Really beautiful way that she wants to make a difference with raising funds for childhood cancer in Australia and that as well, helping families that way.
It's so good. So good. Yep. She's so lovely.
So lovely.
And then we have Kristen.
We do have Kristen. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Kristen, again, another child going through childhood cancer treatments. He's just finished. He's in the clear right now, from my understanding. And Kristen, we met through Claire, actually, at a Jessica Jansen event. We'll just tie that all back there together for you. And Kristen graciously, as we were, they're all strangers to us and they've all graciously given their time, but shared a story of her son's Rett diagnosis and the way that their family handled it. Just thinking about the way that they were able to zero in on all of their kids and what each kid needed during that time. Like, it's not just about the kid going through cancer treatment, it's about all of them. And each of our guests talks about this, but Kristen's was just fresh in my mind about the way that she speaks about that. So
totally.
So really good. And also, actually, I'm going to highlight this one. Okay, I'm going to say this right now, and appropriate or not, I don't care. Like, I'm saying this because I am not a religious person. I am not a person of Christian faith or Catholic faith or God belief. I'm not going to get into what I do believe, but I am not that. And I think if you aren't that, you can be pushed away when you hear people speak about their belief in God. And I encourage you not to. I encourage you to listen, because there are still beautiful lessons in there. And I have to tell this about Kristen's episode. We had booked to record Kristen in person, and my kids got hand, foot, and mouth disease. And so she said, yep, I don't want that in my house by accident. Let's just do it via Zoom. And I was like, yep, I do not cancel things unless I absolutely have to. So then Melissa's kiddo was sick, and she had to take her to the hospital. And so it was just going to be me and I said, I can't cancel. Well, just be me and Kristen. And so we showed up. It was just me and Kristen. And we go to get on this call and the power goes out. I've never had the power go out in my house. It is middle of the day. It's not nighttime. There is no thunderstorm. There's nothing knocking power out. Power goes out on my whole block. Turns out, I think like a deer fell on a power. Something happened way out forever away. We found out what happened. I don't remember. Power goes out. So we have to reschedule this whole episode recording so that Melissa and all of us can be down there, and we do it on Zoom. And Melissa asks this incredible question about how Kristen's belief, like literally I have chills right now, how Kristen's belief has helped carry her through this. And like, I'm so freaking grateful, because I would never have asked that question. It would never, not because I don't want to know, it would never have occurred to me. And her answer is friggin' incredible, and you need to hear it. Christian belief, God believer or not, it's unreal. I just have to say that because I think about it every single time I think about her episode. So Kristen's episode. Next, we have Season Johnson. Season came to, well, she didn't come to us. I keep saying people came to us. We found them. Not all of them. Some of them came to us. But Kristen mentioned Season's name. And actually, Claire had said that she had heard about her too. And Kristen had been working with Season to help nourish her son going through cancer treatment. And so Season runs a program called Helping Families Thrive Through Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
She is a nutritionist who's, when her son was diagnosed with cancer years ago, she deep dove into how to better equip our kids through nutrition and gut health to battle cancer. And now she runs that, and she has, like, it's incredible when you hear her talk. She works alongside a doctor, like it's like oncologists along the way. It's really, really cool. Really beautiful to hear her talk about that.
Mm-hmm. She's so knowledgeable, and so, like, I had so many takeaways that was like, oh, I'm going to use that in my own day to day.
Applicable whether you have a kid going through cancer treatment or not.
Yeah. And it's really cool to hear her talk about how to combine medical and holistic medicine to empower our kids to the best of their ability.
Yeah.
And Kristen was saying what an impact following Season's advice, is advice the right word?
Yeah, I think so.
I hope, has made on Rhett and his treatment process. So
yeah.
That was like, we were like, oh, we really want to talk to her. And she was so gracious in allowing us some time to chat with her. She was,
let's be honest, Melissa was like, let's get her on the podcast. I was like, I don't know if she's going to want to be on our podcast. And she did.
Melissa, you're nuts.
You're nuts. That's what I thought. You're nuts. And here she is. So yeah, we have Season. And then our final episode before we wrap up the season is going to be Claire. Mm-hmm. Claire is who we did our original Childhood Cancer Awareness Day episode with. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be really real with you. We're re-releasing that episode. And the reason we're just re-releasing it is because it's so darn good. We're just awesome. No, because Claire's awesome. And she so graciously gave us her time during that time while her daughter was in chemo treatment. And we did that episode via WhatsApp messages back and forth to record it's unreal to me what she did at that time. Like, yeah, what she was working through, and that she gave her time to strangers to just answer our questions. Some questions that we could have just frankly Googled to find the answer to. And she just gave us answers. And we have Googled since to get other information and learn more and be better. But just incredibly grateful. So it's full of like statistics and information around childhood cancer and things like that. And then also her story with her daughter.
Mm-hmm. And you know what I think is pretty incredible with Claire, like when we hop on a Zoom call or when we're in person and we're recording, we're kind of getting to know each other and we're reading the room, and but when we're recording on WhatsApp, it's like you're getting right to the point. You are getting right to the question. And a lot of our questions are quite candid. And here she is going through this really difficult time and so graciously going to her phone and answering all of these questions, like we're blowing up her phone with questions, and she was so graciously answering them. And really, I was nervous about it. I'll be honest. I was nervous because I was like, it's really hard to ask a candid question of somebody that you don't know when you can't see their face and you can't like read the room a little bit. And she was just really, I keep saying gracious, but it's the word that is coming to me. And we're really grateful to Claire for kind of kickstarting this whole thing, really.
Yeah.
She did. She like her involvement in this kickstarted everything. And we're really grateful, and really grateful for her to give her time to us in the way that she did. And has since too, like we've been in contact since, like when we have questions and stuff, and we'll reach out to her and ask her questions, and she's still answering questions. So yeah, we
owe her a lot. We owe her a lot.
Yeah.
In our show notes, we will put links to all of the organizations that are involved with all of these guests that we've had. And I want to quickly highlight 2 dates that are going to come up in September that we are going to promote on our social media and will come up in the episodes prior to. But I'm just going to tell you about them now. The first one is September 15th, is Evelyn's party. So Heather is organizing this, and every year they put on a huge party. When Heather told me, yeah, we have a party for Evelyn's birthday, I thought, yeah, okay, it's a little party for Evelyn's birthday. No, it's a block party, and like half the city shows up to honor Evelyn, and like every dollar spent, if your kid wants to show up with their charity jar of $1 to do a craft, that dollar goes right to childhood cancer treatments or childhood cancer research. Sorry. And so like we're gonna be there, and I'm excited to see what this is, because in my head it was on a driveway.
Well, because she said she's
balloons.
Like, yeah, because she said, the first year we had a dance party on our driveway, and we've been doing it ever since, and that's what I was thinking too. And then she told us more about it, and I was like, wait, what? Like I was in when you said dance party on the driveway. Now I'm like extra in.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Bring it.
Yeah,
So
bring it.
Yeah.
So we will share stuff about that on our Instagram. If you're not following, go check that out. And but it's going to be good, so save that date. And then also on September 28th is Carrie talks about it in her episode, is an event. I cannot remember the name of it, but it's about dessert, and that's all you really need to know.
Dessert gala.
Dessert gala. Thank you. I just remember dessert. It's at Devonian Gardens, if you haven't been there, which is also a beautiful place. And it's a dessert gala. And again, the money goes to helping families handle cancer. So those are 2 dates to mark down your calendar. If you're looking for a good time and looking for that good time to support a good cause, put them in your calendar.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
So good. I love it. I love it. So tune in, follow along, follow these accounts, and we encourage you to do what you can in your capacity to be there in community with these families and help in any way that we can, because childhood cancer is something that needs our help. It is, we're going to say this over and over again, and I'm going to go ahead and say it here. It is grossly underfunded, and it needs our help to make a difference. So let's do it.
You know what I want to say, actually, before you just wrap up here really quick? I want to put this on. I was talking to my husband. This is when I asked about getting the research. When you were like, I'm having a hard time finding this research. And I was like, AJ says he's the king of the internet. I'll let him get on this. So
thank you, AJ.
I don't know if what he found was helpful or not, but he pointed this out to me, because I was just saying like, oh, only 4 to 7% goes towards childhood cancer. And he said, it's interesting when you say that. And this is going to sound really cynical, but he doesn't mean it that way. There was a whole conversation that happened afterwards. But he said, when you read about like the number of people who are diagnosed with cancer in, I think he was looking at Canada, in a year, it's like, I don't remember the numbers, but the numbers for kids was in the 5 digits, and the numbers for adults is in the 6 digits. I just think like those kids are going to grow, like ideally should grow up to be adults. So we're either saying, no, you're not worth it to grow up to be adults, we'll just treat the adults instead, we'll treat the ones who make it. Or you're saying these children's lives are worth it and we should treat them to grow up to be adults. You know what I mean? And so like, I'm just like, no, like it doesn't matter how many of them are. The percentages shouldn't be that low when there's still that many kids being diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
You know?
And these innocent children that, there's just so many facets of this. It's so huge that it's like, it's kind of mind boggling. And that's why I kind of always take it down to like the small tangible ways we can help. But it is really mind boggling when you think about how many areas this touches and how big it is, because you think, you've got these children that are going through this treatment, and this treatment that is like often a treatment that was actually made for an adult body, and they're just putting it into a small child. You've got a child fighting a disease that is not like, you'll hear guests talk about childhood cancer. Kids don't get cancer from the environment. They don't get cancer from what they eat. They don't get cancer from what they've done in their life.
What they smoke.
Because they smoke. Like, this is like a very, I don't even know the right words. I'm like, ugh. But it's such they're so innocent, and we need to protect them. Like, when we say it's grossly underfunded, I mean, we need to take care of these kids on a research, kick the crap out of this cancer so it doesn't happen in the first place. And we need to take care of our kids in a research, how are we going to treat this? And let's treat it. Let's find treatments that are more manageable. We need to help our kids they're in this treatment. Let's make it more manageable in like what Heather's doing with Radflix. There's so many facets to this that need help, and 4% is just not enough to get there. And that's the bottom line. It's not enough. These
Clearly.
kids deserve more. They have done nothing in this world but innocence, and they deserve more than what we are giving them. I will step down off my soapbox now.
You can stay up there. It's cool. Yeah, I agree.
And like this month, these are real stories, real people that are going through. This is tangible. This is really here and happening. And these are how these people are navigating this and what they can teach us about how they're navigating it.
Yeah.
Really.
Can you tell we're fired up?
We are
'Cause we're
fired
fired
up.
up.
Let's get that more than 4%. Come on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. To help support the growth of this podcast, please feel free to leave us a review, follow us on socials, or recommend us to your friends. Your support honestly means the world to us. With love, Sammy and Melissa.